What?
I mean, so
No, I didn't know about that clause.
yes, it was there.
So even if you're doing it not in the course of this business, because now it's a project,
it's very important to engage a lawyer for you to know what type of contract you're in. Because most employers, number one, or most human resource that said anything that I would invent or innovate during my working period
that
belongs to
them.
Yes.
Hey, that's an employment. Cut by KRA, like your tax obligations are separate from mine. They're not tied as of the way it is between an employer and an employee.
Of course,
yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Sisters-in-Law podcast. My name is Beverly Mokaya and I'm here with
Aquila Mokaya. In this podcast, we discuss matters law.
I'm talking about matters tax law, contract law, litigation, human rights, and generally anything law. We've got you covered.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
So on today's episode, we are talking about independent contractors. Trying to look for a story. It's not coming. So anyway,
you can read the story we're talking about.
Oh yeah,
right
by
now,
the way,
but you can use plate and clouds.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had an experience back then before I became self-employed. Somebody was offering me an opportunity. A friend of mine, and this is for pure example, it's just for pure demonstration purposes. They offered me an opportunity and they told me it's a consultancy, yeah. So I was told I was going to be one of 4 consultants in their project, yeah. So of course I assume, based on my legal knowledge and based on how I know things to work, a consultant is supposed to choose their working hours, choose when to work. No, of course, the only thing that maybe you would have to agree on is the deliverables and maybe when do you need this by.
Timelines, yes.
Timelines, yeah. But ideally, I should choose where to work from, when to work, how to work. I should be the one to pay my own taxes. I know how, because for consultants, there's a withholding tax that is withheld by KRA. You don't pay the payee. Payees pay as you earn. Yeah. So I know that's how I'm supposed to work. So I take the contract and I'm excited about it because the pay was good. But looking at the contract, trying to interrogate it properly, this payment was coming in monthly, regularly as an employment.
That's clearly
an employment. My working hours are determined. So for example, I'm getting 150K every month. Working hours determined. I'm told I should be at work 7 to 7, Monday to Saturday. I am told you can't work from anywhere else. These are your 4 desks. Yeah. So this is where you work from. So is that really a consultancy or an employment?
It's an employment.
It's an employment, yeah. So I think and then something else that happened is that anything in that contract, there was like a clause that said anything that I would invent or innovate during my working period belongs to
them.
Yes.
Hey, that's an employment.
What? I mean, so
no, I didn't know about that clause.
Yes, it was there.
Even if you're doing it not in the course of this business, because now it's a project, it is not going to be clearly okay.
Anyway,
we're having this conversation. We should have it at the end.
Anyway,
so that it's easier.
Yeah. So you get the point. Somebody labeling a contract as a consultancy, and yet it's really just an employment. So the name is consultancy, but it's an employment.
Just to make it fancy.
Yeah. So and that's my experience, and it's it's my experience, but there are other people who have the same experience.
Yes. Actually, like law firms right now are giving consultancy. Before I'm stoned, I'm a lawyer too, but they're giving like consultancy agreements where they tell you don't have to come to work. We're going to pay you per file. That's clearly not employment, because now first I think let's just give like a distinction between an employment and
And a consultancy
So
or
now,
an independent contractor.
yes. So like a contract of service, contract for service. So that now when we're telling these stories, it's easier for us to get.
Yeah.
So first, there's an aspect of control. An employer will control you.
Yeah, they tell you.
There's an aspect, some percentage of your control that you relinquish to the employer.
Yes.
Because they are paying you monthly. See, or in our previous episode, is where she made the comment and said, as an employee, you're giving your life for pay.
It really is the truth. Yeah. Time equals life.
Yeah, so there's the aspect of control where now someone controls where you work, when you work, and stuff like that. And then now the other aspect that is closely tied to control is the employment benefits, like leave days. You know, if I'm not controlling you, then you're not supposed to ask for leave from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like me, just these are deliverables. You need to give them to me by end of the month or something like that. Like you must have accomplished it by the end of the month and stuff like that. So whether if you do it the day before 30th, that's really up to you, and you don't work between 1st to 29th. Yeah. So there's the aspect of leave days, and then there's the aspect of insurance also. Like they're not supposed to insure you. The other video that we have done on Weber, they're not obligated to give you their means of service, your protective gear.
Yes.
Because now you know you're coming to offer the service. I'm not employing you, so you come with your. It's the situation where you come with your helmet.
For example, yes, if it's an engineer going to a construction site,
they go with their own.
Go with your own working gear and things like that. So you don't expect the employer to give it to you. And there are contracts that guide. I mean, construction is interesting. There are contracts that guide all that. Yeah. So you said that. Did you say tax?
No, I've not spoken about taxes.
But I mentioned it in
passing
in my example, in my contract. So taxes, if you're in taxes and NSSF and HIF, SHIF and all that.
That one.
Yeah. So all that is in the context of employment. But as an independent contractor, you're not supposed to be.
They're not deducting a third party for you.
Apart from withholding tax.
Yes. So like if, for example, I am the how are they called? The guys who are giving me that contract. If you are an independent contractor, who am I to you?
No, contracting.
Because you can't say an employer now.
Yeah. But generally in construction, they're just called the employer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's use employer, but you're using it loosely.
Yeah.
So if because normally there's a percentage I pay for maybe NSSF for my employees. Now when it comes to you, I'm not going to pay.
Yeah.
Because now you are going to sort out all that for yourself. And then the withholding tax will be cut by KRA. Like your tax obligations are separate from mine. They're not tied as of the way it is between an employer and an employee.
Of course, unless you're a withholding agent, because sometimes you can withhold and then give me on the behalf of KRA.
Yeah.
On behalf of KRA.
Really, so, on behalf of KRA.
I'm thinking too fast and speaking, my speeches, So something else that is there is the exclusivity. Sometimes if you're an independent contractor, you can use the example of insurance agents. That's the most common because I'm sure they have visited your office.
Yeah.
So
or even your workplace.
Or you have found them on the street. I found them on the street, like I think 2 years ago. And to date, he's still, following up. These people are,
Oh my God.
So, what was I saying?
You're speaking about insurance
I was talking about insurance agents and exclusivity. You find that some of these insurance agents don't just work for one insurance company.
Yes.
Like, for example, there's a time when you're looking for an insurance for a PSV insurance for a vehicle. This agent that we found was giving you options from, I have worked with this, I have worked with this, These are the different options that I can provide for you. Then once you accept, the underwriters in the office will work on it and you'll be able to get your documentation and all that. So they don't just work for one company. Yeah, they can work with, they can work with all companies.
Yes. Because now it's not like it's with. Because now like if you're working, when you're given like a contract, an employment contract, it's normally you cannot serve the interests of any other company other than us, maybe for the duration of this contract. For independent contractors, the contract should not have such a clause where it bars now the independent contractor from
working for other people.
From working for other people.
Or with other people.
Yes, or with other people. So you must get a clause where it allows you to work for others or with others, with other companies. Yeah, I think the only one that you can have is maybe a conflicting clause that says you can't work with a conflicting company, because then again that's just so obvious. Yeah.
So the essence of this discussion is sometimes contracts are wrongly labeled.
Yes.
But in the law, they don't go with the label, they go with the substance of it.
Yeah.
They go with the substance. So if I label your contract a consultancy, because also there's issues of termination and discipline. So if you have
Which forum to report
if you're told that you can report here or you can go through this disciplinary committee, you're not a consultant, you're an employee. And the thing is, these two things have to be clearly distinguished because it determines where you go for recourse. Like in the event that somebody breaches the contract, where do you go? Because remember, we have the Employment Law and Relations Court, ELRC, and then we have the Commercial Court. So if you don't have an employment agreement, you can't go to ELRC.
Yeah.
You have to go to the Commercial Court.
Because now that's like a breach of contract.
Yeah, and if you have an employment agreement, you can't go to the Commercial Court. You have to go to the ELRC. So that's why it's yes.
You also realize that sometimes when you're doing submissions for employment matters, you always have to quote unquote submit on the issue of if there's an employer-employee relationship that has been established. So if it was not established clearly, you're
in the wrong court. Yeah, it will be thrown out and you will have wasted so much time. So anyway, sometimes if your contract is clear that it's an employment contract, for example, I even forgot to mention this part. Mostly consultants or contractors, independent contractors, usually work based on commission. But if somebody is controlling your time, giving you targets, because I know some insurance agents are given targets, by the way, giving you a basic salary in addition to commission, that's not consultancy. It's not an independent thing. You're not an independent contractor. You're an employee. So this distinction is very, very important, and that's why we felt it's very necessary to talk about this, because it determines where you go. And if you get it wrong and you go to the wrong avenue to address this, then your issue won't be addressed.
You waste so much time. I think that's just the only issues I had on my end regarding independent contractors. But if you ask me between employment and an independent contractor, I'd rather be an independent contractor.
Yeah, especially in a law firm, if you're paid per file. But it depends anyway. I guess it depends on where you're at in life.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I think there's one more thing I wanted to say. Okay, so I think basically it's very important to engage a lawyer for you to know what type of contract you're in. Because most employers, number one, or most human resource managers might not necessarily understand that there's a difference between a consultant or an independent contractor and an employee. And it's very important for you to know what the work arrangement with your supervisor or the other party is, for you to know where to go. It also determine how the termination works. For example, if you are an employee, sometimes they give you a title of a consultant so that they don't have to. Everything else screams employee in your contract except the termination clause, so that they can easily terminate you. For consultancy, you don't have to go through a disciplinary process. We have an episode on that. You don't have to go through a disciplinary process. You don't have to be given a hearing or anything. It's just that this doesn't work for us. I have done my part. You've done your part. That's it. So it's treated as a normal contract. So it's very important for you to know this so that you even know if your termination is done right. So don't call me a consultant. Give me employee environment and employee.
But you don't want to give me a notice.
And then you don't want to give me a notice, so you unfairly benefit out of the contract that you gave me. So it's very important for you to read that contract carefully, engage a lawyer, so that you know whether you'll have recourse if somebody just wakes up and says, "We are done." Or whether you don't have recourse. So I think that's very important. So the reason why you need to understand it is because you need to know the employment, the relationship that you have, where to go for recourse in the event that something wrong happens, and whether the termination that was done
was done
correctly. Because for employment, there's a procedure. For consultancy, it's just based on the contract.
How you guys agreed. So generally, for independent contractors, the contract is just a contract. We are just parties. There is no. The obligations are just like the normal obligations of like a contracting party, like contracting parties and stuff like that. And just as long as we have agreed and things like that,
you are considered equal parties. For an employer and an employee, the employee is weaker. So when the courts are interpreting this, the lawyers interpret it in the favor of the employee 80% of the cases. But for contractors, you're equal parties, equal contractors, so it's different. So better know which kind of contract governs you. So we have come to the end of our episode. I hope you have learned. Remember to share with somebody. Remember to look at your contract, check whether you're independent contractor or an
employee.
employee and know where to go when a problem arises. Thank you for watching. See you next time. And remember to
like, share, subscribe, and then leave a comment down below.